Did you know that 80% of gunshots are not reported to 911? Today on City Chat, Deputy Chief of Police Richard Bash is here to talk about a new technology that can make Columbus a whole lot safer. Thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me.
What is Shotspotter and how does it work?
Well, Shotspotter is a group of acoustic microphones, sensors, that are placed throughout neighborhoods in our city that will detect gunfire. That sound is then evaluated by real people in California, and then they send those alerts to police officers very, very quickly, most of the time within 60 seconds. So the officers know at very close proximity of where those gunshots are coming from, and much more quickly than what we would get with 911 calls.
Wow, that's amazing. You know, on the ShotSpotter website, they said that 80% of gunshots nationwide are undetected. What about Columbus? What's our...
Well, and that number makes sense, and a lot of the agencies that I've spoken with do indicate that those numbers are accurate. We're very fortunate here in Columbus that, especially in the Hilltop, many of our residents are still calling us. So we're hovering right about 60 to 65% of the gunshots that we detect go unreported. So that's still a very high percentage. It's higher than I would want. Certainly I would rather every single gunshot that a citizen hears to call us. But those are very high numbers, and I appreciate the fact that members of our community are serious about keeping our community safe.
You said that there are people that work at ShotSpotter that detect the gunfire noises, and then you guys have sensors set up. How would the police be able to be notified of that?
Okay. We have computers in all of our cars, and that program is actually installed in the computer in the car. So as soon as the alert goes out, the officer gets it immediately. It pops up so that we can see the map of the location, and we can actually hear the gunfire that they detected and identified as gunfire, and the officers are able to immediately respond.
So I'm assuming that, you know, like for 4th of July and like New Year's Eve or whenever fireworks would be going off, the team at ShotSpotter would be like really busy, or does this make things like malfunction within the app?
Well, it's very, very busy, and we still get a map of all the alerts. But what happens on those nights, like New Year's Eve, they're not going to be able to discern from all of these different stimuli, as it were, which ones were exactly gunshots just because of the volume. But we will get the map, so it will allow us to follow up later on to find out where these things came from. And of course, if we see evidence of firecrackers or fireworks, you know, we will make you know, whatever decisions we need to from there. But more importantly, we can address those that were actually gunshots.
Are other cities using this technology? Is it a kind of a widespread common thing, or is it just specific cities are just like, you know, we'll test it out?
There are a number of cities throughout the country that have been using this, from Chicago, even Youngstown here in Ohio, Cincinnati, Baltimore, Kansas City. So there are a number of large cities that have been using this technology. We do things just a little bit differently here in Columbus because we have dedicated cars to respond. We have dedicated officers to follow up. We have a state-of-the-art crime lab with fantastic scientists who are really providing evidence evaluation within about 24 hours.
Has this technology launched yet in Columbus, and where will it be deployed?
It has. We've been up and running for a little over 3 weeks on the Hilltop. On Thursday of this week, we went live in Linden, and hopefully by the end of March, we'll be live on the south side, excuse me.
So the price for ShotSpotter is really expensive. Do you think that this technology is really worth the price, and how will it keep Columbus safer?
Well, I'm not really sure I would say it's expensive. I mean, certainly technology is not cheap, and it's never free. When we get more guns off the street and we get more people who are using guns illegally off the street, we save lives. So I'm not sure exactly how I can put a price tag on that. Of course, everything has a cost, and because we buy ShotSpotter or rent their information, we can't purchase something else. But again, this is violent crime, and this is the one thing that every city is evaluated on all across the country. So do I think it's worth it? Absolutely.
We saw that you guys released surveillance footage of it looked like a youth that was playing around with a gun and shot it off. Can you tell us a little bit how ShotSpotter helped with that incident and give us an update on what is going to happen?
Absolutely, and that's a wonderful success story. This is really an exciting opportunity for us. We received a ShotSpotter alert Unfortunately, we didn't have any other phone calls from that alert. Now, it happened at about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, so it's understandable people are at work or at school. So the officers responded, and while they were canvassing, looking for victims or other property damage, they found a surveillance camera, and they approached the homeowner of that surveillance camera. They got footage, very good footage, of the people who actually pulled the trigger in that firearm. We then asked the community to help us in identifying these individuals, and certainly they have been able to help us out, and we've filed charges.
So I get it now. So like, because of the Shotspotter technology being able to pinpoint an exact location, and no one heard it or anything, because of that technology, they realized that there was a surveillance camera, and then you guys caught the victim, or caught the
suspect.
Suspect.
Right.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I get it. Cool. Very cool.
And what we do when we canvass the area and someone is not home or they're not willing to answer the door, and that happens sometimes, we leave door hangers. And we've asked Crime Stoppers, and they've been a really good partner, to handle those tips for us. So when someone calls and they stay anonymous, Crime Stoppers will filter those tips to us, and we can route them to the proper investigator so we can find out who these individuals are.
That's really cool. It's just so much more, that with this technology, it just advances everything.
It does.
Yeah.
It gives us one more tool in our tool belt. Again, it doesn't replace the human factor and the fact that our citizens need to be part of the solution, but it does help us.
Is Shotspotter better than us calling 911, and how can we contribute to help the police?
It is better because it's more accurate. We've all heard gunshots from somewhere. We think it's coming from south of our house or from the alley. Shotspotter, because they use so many different sensors, they're able to pinpoint that location to an area that's really not much bigger than this room. So it enables that officer to get there more quickly and certainly more accurately. However, it does not take the place of us being involved in our community. We need people to continue to call. We want people to be vigilant, see what's going on in their neighborhood, and more importantly, be willing to share with us what they see. Because again, if we don't have the community's help, we're not going to be able to solve any of these crimes. We understand that your hearing is not perfect, and you may be watching television and you hear a gunshot and you think it came from the back of your house. And then oftentimes you're talking to someone in your family, hey, did you hear that gunshot? I'm not sure it was. Should I call the police? I don't know, maybe I should. And by the time they make the decision to make the phone call and they give us the information that the best they have, often it is much later than we get the notice, and it's not always as accurate. Right. But more importantly, when they look out the window or they hear the squealing tires or hear somebody yelling, that's a piece of information that's very important for us to close the case. That's
good to know. Thank you, Deputy Chief, for sharing all of this information with us. I did see that press release that how Shotspotter is going live in Linden yesterday, so we want to thank you for joining us first.
Thank you very much for having us, and again, I can't stress enough that this is not a replacement for 911. It will enhance our ability to fight crime and keep people safe, but we can't do it without the community being actively involved.
Shotspotter technology became live in the Hilltop earlier this month and is now live in the Linden Neighborhood. In the coming weeks, Shotspotter technology will be installed in the South Side neighborhoods. Thanks for watching City Chat on CTV.